was remarkably quick this time. Alright, so we are playing Izzet Pheonix in Explorer, soon to be Pioneer. We navigate the Find Match option. It's this one. This is the new version. Yes, thank you for unable to resign from event. That's completely normal. Alright, we're into a game. This is my first time ever playing with Cori Steelcutter, but boy have I lost to this a whole lot. So hopefully we can replicate that from the other side. Alright. Opponent on the play. Which always a little bit unfortunate, but a little bit less so now that I don't have turn 1 duress, Thoughtseize type stuff. Alright, this hand is pretty good. We've got an opt. So turn 2 Artist Talent, turn 3 Cori Steelcutter is my plan. And I think there's no need to sleight of hand right now. Opponent has played Stomping Ground. And Breeding Pool. Right, well, I'm gonna put Artist Talent in play and just pass. Alright, Ancient Cornucopia. Good old Niv Mizzet decks. Alright, let's play Cori Steelcutter as my first spell for turn. Put a Pheonix in the bin, because why not? And then Sleight of Hand. Yes, attach Cori Steelcutter, discard this extra land. And I guess I will choose an opt. Alright, already attacking for 2 on turn 3. It's pretty good. It's not amazing, but it is something. Alright, Roaring Furnace just to kill my monk. That's fine. There are more where that came from. Alright, I think I need another red source. Probably should have just let the ops resolve first. I'm gonna get rid of this Lightning Axe. I'd gladly keep a Treasure Cruise. Alright, second spell achieved. Cori Steelcutter. Already proving it to be very, very strong. Another Cori Steelcutter. That'll be great next turn. Keep more cantrips. And I have a Pheonix in the bin, so I can delve 6 and spend the rest of my mana to get that Pheonix back. And I think we get rid of the steam vents here. Shouldn't be hurting on lands after this Treasure Cruise either way. Right, Pheonix comes back and we hit him for 6. This is going quite well. Okay, Lightning Helix is fantastic for them. Now they're at 21 instead of like 11. And Omnath gains them even more life. Assuming they play a land. Alright. Just a Godless Shrine tapped. Alright, so first spell for the turn is Cori Steelcutter. Discarding Arclight Pheonix, because I drew that. Second spell for the turn is Lightning Axe, killing Omnath. Discarding Artist's Talent. And sure, we can do that. Then I think we get rid of Picklock Prankster. Alright, so I need to cast 2 more instants and sorceries to get my Pheonixes back. So I'll opt. That's a lot of prowess triggers. Discard a tap land. Don't need another land. Play that. I have 2 Phoenixes in here, which means this treasure cruise is exactly fine. So that's 7. Yeah, an opponent concedes. This is Cori Steelcutter being great. Pretty impressive showing. Alright, so the sideboard here has Brotherhood's End, which kills Ancient Cornucopia, I guess. And a Braid, which also does the same thing. Neither of those seem great. I'm going to bring in Mystic Dispute, Negate, Ether Gust, and Annul. And cut Fiery Impulses, Torch the Towers. Spell Pierce seems good. Let's see. They have all sorts of stuff. What do I cut here? I don't know. Probably just 3 sleight of hand. Bringing in a bunch of stuff that are better than cantrips, so I could cut some cantrips. Alright, pretty much the same start as last time, except this time we've got an Ether Gust. Alright, even find an Arclight Pheonix to go along with it, which I low-key think Cori Steelcutter is just better than Ether Gust, than Arclight Pheonix, but we'll see if that turns out to be true. So same thing, Artist Talent on 2, Cutter on 3. This time they're going to have a Sylvan Caryatid, so the ramp is going to be... The attack isn't going to be as good. Alright, they just slam a Rest in Peace, which means no Arclight Phoenixing for me. However, I have the Cori Steelcutter, so that's fine. Let's get rid of Picklock Prankster, since it doesn't really do all that much with a Rest in Peace in play. Doesn't do nothing, but, you know. Alright, second spell is going to be an Opt. And get rid of this Spell Pierce. I kind of need a 4th land. Alright, we find one. That'll be good for next turn. No point attacking into their 0-3. In the future I would do it, but I just don't have the mana to threaten prowess triggers, so I have to stay patient. I also don't technically have 2 castable spells next turn. Unless they give me a target for Ether Gust or Lightning Axe. Alright. They have Bring to Light. So they can find anything they want. As long as it's 5 mana or less, which isn't that big of a restriction. Yep, and it's Niv Mizzet Reborn. So I can Ether Gust that and consider... Alright, you go away. Discard Lightning Axe, I guess. They have multiple ways of dealing with my Cori Steelcutters, which is a bit of a shame. So just gotta get my Monk tokens while I can. Discard second Artist Talent. Definitely don't need 3 of those. I don't need a 5th land, really. I also don't need all these Phoenixes that can't come back. So I guess the next couple of turns are going to be hardcast Arclight Pheonix mode, unless we find more cantrips to continue Cori Steelcutter. White, green, blue, red, any. So they can just recast Niv Mizzet Reborn off of mostly basics. unlucky. So yeah, it's white, green, blue, red, black. So that like they don't even need another land to do that. Alright, opponent is thinking hard. And they are roping. There's a timeout used. I mean, it's obviously just either Abrupt Decay Cori Steelcutter or cast Niv Mizzet. The thinking is unnecessary. Alright, it's recast Niv Mizzet is the line. Kind of hoping I would find some way of stopping that before they did that. Kambal Console of Allocation. Alright, well, that's just rude. Okay, if I find a second red source, which I realistically should have done. Alright, into the Flood Maw. I guess we're just staying on this treadmill forever. Of bouncing the Niv Mizzet Reborn, giving them infinite value. But getting pretty good attacks with our monks in the meantime. Hoping to find a cantrip there. Alright, opponent is down to 3. If we'd found another opt, they would have died. Alright, Bring to Light using 4 colors. They could have used 5 there, but they chose not to. I assume it'll be some sort of Wrath, and hopefully Arclight Pheonix Haste can get him. Right. Maelstrom Pulse, blow up all of the monk tokens. That's fine. I actually think I have them dead multiple ways. So chalk in Steam Vents, play Arclight Pheonix, play Artist's Talent, trigger the Cori Steelcutters, and make some attacks. Alright, well that was an incredibly impressive showing on the part of Cori Steelcutter, and kind of a mediocre showing on the part of the Pheonix. The Pheonix was just completely unnecessary both games. But we did manage to play through, like, all of the nonsense the Bring to Light Niv Mizzet deck can manage. Like, they cast Niv Mizzet, like, 3 times. And we just sort of overpowered them. Cori Steelcutter is kind of atrociously strong. Alright, we're on the play. We have cantrips and an Artist's Talent. I'm going to sleight of hand look for, I guess, a second Treasure Cruise, but looking for a Cori Steelcutter here. Merfolk. Black-green Merfolk? Alright, third Artist's Talent, third Treasure Cruise, not the ideal draw. Is this black-green Merfolk, or is this like Explore Tribal? Terra Sunder. Okay, understandable. I'll consider first. I think just put cards in the bin. Alright, I will consider second as well. I think we just put cards in the bin. We have a billion Treasure Cruises. Alright. We draw the 4th copy of Treasure Cruise. If opponent has a Thoughtseize, I'm not spell piercing that. I want them to see this nonsense. Alright, genuinely, what are they, like, I guess this is black-green Merfolk. Alright, Picklock Prankster is actually an excellent draw, because it fills the graveyard a whole lot. Alright, I think I take Floodmaw here. I kind of need to slow them down a little bit. Otherwise, I'm just going to get run over. So if I draw an untapped land, which I think this is my turn 4. So if I draw an untapped land, I can Floodmaw a thing here. Ooh, or even Lightning Axe it. That's pretty good. Let's see. They're going to play a Sentinel post-combat, right? I think I want to Lightning Axe that immediately. No Sentinel, just another Branch Walker. Into a Shieldred the Apocalypse? Alright, well, I'm saving Lightning Axe for that. You can have your Branch Walker back. What is my opponent cooking? Like a billion Explorer Merfolk and then Shieldred? Like, what is the purpose here? Alright, so Picklock Prankster, second spell for the turn, get a Monk token. I think Monk token is going to have to stay on defense. I'm at 9. Alright, they have Fatal Push. We pass and just hope to block a Branch Walker. Not loving the situation we find ourselves in. Turns out drawing 4 copies of Treasure Cruise is much worse than drawing 1 copy. Alright, take our block. Are they doing some sort of combat trick? Ah, got it. Assassin's Trophy to kill the Steel Cutter. Nissa, what are they? What is the plan with all of these random cards? Like I don't understand what their goal is. It seems to be working, mind you. I don't think I want to play that. Like their plan seems to be working, but I don't know what it is. We play Pheonix on defense and plan to Lightning Axe a Shieldred. Alright, Sentinel of the Nameless City. I think I have to Lightning Axe a Branch Walker, otherwise I just take so much damage here. Get rid of a Treasure Cruise. I have plenty where that came from. And another Sea Note Scout. This one draws a land, which is, I believe, the first time that's happened all game. Yep, and then they use the map token to make the Sea Note Scout a little bit scarier. Alright, let's draw some cards and hope to find a way out of this pickle. Alright, Core Steel Cutter comes at an inopportune time. Free the Fae. Gets back a Sleight of Hand. Sleight of Hand. Finds me a Pheonix, which I can't cast. I guess I will play out the Cori Steel Cutter. And then get my Pheonix back. And die to, I guess, technically not dead to their attacks. Opponent has said oops. I don't know why they've said oops. It's not like I made any horrible mistakes. I'm just going to die here to not drawing enough removal spells for their creature deck. Ah, okay. They fire up Lair. I did not notice the Lair of the Hydra hiding in their mana base. Alright, so we bring in Anger of the Gods, Brotherhood's End. Ether Gust seems pretty good. Negate seems awful. Spell Pierce seems awful. And I think we just cut 3 Sleight of Hand, as we often do. Might want to bring in Abrades and stuff for even more removal spells, but I think that's a bit much. I think we're just going to try to rely on like one early sweeper to like 3 or 4 for 1 them. And then have random shocks and stuff after that. Opponent is sideboarding. I still don't know what they're trying to accomplish with their deck. Like, I guess it's just black-green rock. Like, they're just playing a bunch of good black-green cards, but I don't know if I would count all those Merfolk as good black-green cards. Well, this certainly has the interaction. I'm not gonna die immediately with this hand. Alright, they have a Duress. They can take their removal spell of choice. They take Lightning Axe. I'm going to play Spire Bluff Canal, which gives them some information. It means they know my card draw for turn, but not a huge deal. Alright, C-Note Scout enters. And I think we just go about killing their early plays as soon as they can cast them. Right, play the Storm-Carved Coasts. Continue to have perfect mana. Glissa. That can get Ether Gusted. And they put it on bottom. Alright, now I'm the aggro deck. I'm going to play a Pheonix and attack you. They're only at 15, which isn't low, but it's also not super high. The Branch Walker, get rid of another Branch Walker. Alright, Cori Steelcutter, best draw in the deck. Opt, fire it up. And I don't need another land. Can't quite Treasure Cruise. I think I offer the trade of the Monk token for the Branch Walker. But they just Fatal Push the Monk token instead. Which is still fine for me. It's still a card for a token. More Branch Walkers. It's just an infinite tide of Merfolk that explore when they enter. Alright, I'm just gonna do the classic super expensive Treasure Cruise here. Alright, was kind of counting on drawing a land there, but I drew a bunch of good spells instead, so that's also fine. Right, we aren't winning the race anymore, but I have burn spells to change that. Alright, rest in peace, Cori Steelcutter. You will be missed. Aha! Instantly replaced. Never didn't have it. Yep. Opponents had enough. Cori Steelcutter is hard to deal with, turns out. Alright, Alright, let's win another game, this time on the draw. Alright, we have Anger of the Gods. We have cantrips and stuff. We have Anger. This is fine. Just gonna secure my third land drop. Mosswood Dread Knight. Alright, we pass on 2 and Picklock Prankster end of turn, and then turn 3 we Cori Steelcutter plus Consider. Oh no, not my graveyard. How will my graveyard-based deck, which is definitely graveyard-based, ever beat an Unlicensed Hearse? I guess it's annoying versus my Treasure Cruise. And my poor Pheonix, which just wound up there accidentally. Alright, you're never going to believe this, but third Spirebluff Canal. Cori Steelcutter. And a Consider. It's super weird that like some of the keywords are on the monk token and some of them are on the artifact. Alright. I'm going to put another Pheonix in the bin. Not that it matters, but more so just because I'm not interested in drawing those cards right now. Like, I'm planning on winning with Cori Steelcutter. Alright. Tear Asunder does make that plan more tricky. Alright, I think we Lightning Axe while we can. The Pheonix is going to get exiled as soon as they get the opportunity anyway. So I may as well draw my cards. Alright. Drew too many cards, gonna have to discard to hand size. Alright. Abrupt Decay on a monk token. Does not seem worth it, but whatever. Am I down 2 cutters now or just 1? I think just the 1. I'll get rid of a tap land. So I'm down 1 cutter, 2 Phoenixes. Opponent has decided to start playing Merfolk. More Abrupt Decays. They certainly are not unprepared for this matchup. I'll play Picklock Prankster and pass the turn. The good news is now that they have creatures, I can cast some of these burn spells, which should prevent me from having to discard to hand size in the future. Alright, Glissa, Sunslayer. Would be annoying if not for this giant handful of burn spells that I have. Alright, so if I consider here, and I don't need a pathway. Alright, so now I fiery... No, this doesn't actually work. Okay. Oh, it's still fine though, I'll just Lightning Axe the Glissa. I was trying to figure out how to get Spell Mastery, but they can always reset that with Unlicensed Hearse. Alright. We cast another expensive Treasure Cruise. This time exiling 3 cards from our graveyard. And then let's kill the Glissa with discarding random Steam Vents. Alright, and now we start chipping in for 1 with the Picklock Prankster. And maybe that will be good enough. Maybe it'll at least bait a removal spell of some kind. I have 32 cards in my deck. And they have 49, obviously. So it's a 16-turn clock. Ah, Picklock Prankster, what a fun card. Alright, C-Note Scout, binning another C-Note Scout. Mosswood Dread Knight returns. Alright, Artist's Talent is reasonably likely to bait out the Abrupt Decay. We exile the Mosswood Dread Knight to avoid that problem. Oh, they use the Abrupt Decay on their own Dread Knight to save it. That's fine for them, I guess. Get rid of another land. Alright, Cori Steelcutter shows up. I've already cast a couple spells this turn, so it's going to sit in my hand until next turn. At which point, hopefully, it wins the game. Yeah, let's just activate Artist's Talent. May as well. Might bait them into trying to do something about it. This Unlicensed Hearse technically is an 8-power creature. But it's probably fine. Alright, Tear Asunder. Get rid of the Artist's Talent. Opponent really does not like their opponents having non-land permanents. Alright, Dread Knight returns. Alright, so this is choose one, so I can't blow up the hearse and the creatures. So I think the plan is attack. So if I Cori Steelcutter, then Anger, it'll just blow up my own creature, so I'll just Anger this turn. My poor Picklock Prankster is going to die. And I'm not going to run out the Cori Steelcutter, since their deck is just infinity non-land permanent removal. I'm never going to run out this Cori Steelcutter until I actually have a specific way to get a trigger off of it immediately. Alright, Sentinel. Still nice, comfy 29 cards in library. Nothing to worry about there. Frequently when games go this long, I have an Artist's Talent like burning away at my library the entire time, but not this time. Alright, we just pass. Play the Cori Steelcutter. Play the Opt. Get a trigger. Take the action. Treasure Cruise to the bottom. The Unlicensed Hearse is doing a good job right now. I'll play another red source. And alright, if I attack here, I can actually blow them out if they try to block. So I'm going to do that. Now they might crew and block with the hearse, which would also be fine. Alright. You get a fish. You get a fish, and your hearse gets reset, so it's not scary anymore. Alright, technically Brotherhood End doesn't kill the monk here, but that would be very silly. And it will literally only kill the fish, and like, who cares? Alright, this guy has Vigilance. Somewhat annoying. It's going to be kind of large, too. And they find a Shieldred off of it. I can still kill it with Fiery Impulse plus Brotherhood's End, and my monk will even live. Let's cast some spells. Consider. Alright, Ether Gust also works temporarily. You get to go away, I get another trigger. Why is Cori Steel Cutter so unreasonably good? Alright, back you go. And you have to choose between drawing that and drawing the Shieldred. If you choose to draw the Shieldred, makes sense. Let's Picklock Prankster. I want to pile on my prowess triggers and get some damage in while I have the chance. Alright, Lightning Axe is great because it kills Shieldred, which is coming off the top. But let's just put them to 1 here. I wonder if I missed a point of damage. Actually, wait. This is super cheeky, but it does just kill them if their last card is a blank. Yeah, let's go for it. Lightning Axe targeting the monk. The prowess trigger will save it. And if they have a removal spell, it's going to be a hard removal, so this wouldn't kill my monk either way. Alright. I get punished. So they have the Fatal Push, which means now this isn't lethal, and I don't have a way of killing the Shieldred unless I top deck 1. Maybe that was ambitious. Alright. It's fine. We draw Consider. So I just need to cast enough spells to attack. Does Ether Gust have any targets? No. Arclight Pheonix. That's pretty good. Alright. Arclight Pheonix, second spell. No prowess triggers, but I believe this is lethal. So now we attack with everything. They Shieldred block one of the monks. Oh, they have a Lair of the Hydra. So Lair of the Hydra means that the attacks aren't good. So I think we just attack with the Pheonix. Play a Picklock Prankster. And now they're going to go up to 4 off of their draw step. But I have a much better chance of killing them next turn. So they need to draw a removal spell for the Pheonix or the Prankster. Alright, C-Note Scout doesn't do it. That doesn't have reach. They're dead in the air. Alright. I still don't fully understand what they were doing, but we played against the Infinity non-land permanent removal deck, and we managed to resolve our non-land permanents and just barely win. Alright, let's do another one. Alright, we have the one-lander with a single cantrip to fix it. Let's try it. This is obviously greedy, and I'm obviously going to lose. But boy, would it be cool if it worked. Alright, give me a land. Did not give me a land. I have a draw at a land. Alright, it's Overlord of the Baelmerk, Greasefang. Okay, well that's worrying. Alright. We find a land, it's a tap land. But we take those. If we just rip another land naturally next turn, then we're in great shape. We don't. So we're just going to play Artist Talent. Alright, the land drop was successful. So now we get to Cori Steelcutter. Discard Fiery Impulse, I guess. I would love to hit an actual way of dealing with something. Instead, I have to Flood Maw this just to get a trigger. Wait, I punted, right? If they have a land, they Grease Fang back a Parhelion and I just die instantly. Alright. Well, that's unfortunate. I didn't realize when this stupid Parhelion wound up in the graveyard. I just didn't notice it, so I thought I had more time. And second Parhelion. Alright, cool. We lose. Alright, we punted that game. I could have held up Lightning Axe and been fine. It's fine, though. We're going to bring in a Braid. Ether Gust doesn't do anything here. Annul stops some Overlord nonsense. Spell Pierce is not amazing. Flood Maw, not amazing. And then I'm normally pretty comfy cutting some Sleight of Hands in the post-board games. Alright. On the play this time, we have a honestly mediocre hand, but it beats turn 3 Grease Fang, so can't really complain. Sleight of Hand picks up an Annul, which works out. That stops... Annul stops early Overlords from filling the graveyard. Alright. Spire Bluff Canal, part a billion. Cash Grab puts in Azeka's Chariot and gets back a Shieldred. And is this just turn 3 Grease Fang for Azeka's Chariot, or are you holding out for a Parhelion? Alright. Kill you, discard my Pheonix. Alright, so that's round 1 juked. We play a tap land this turn and have another Lightning Axe and another Pheonix for their next thing. Alright. Duress. If they just Duress me and then untapped land Grease Fang. Alright, very cool. So it is just an Azeka's Chariot. It's not a Parhelion. So I'm not just completely dead instantly, but I'm pretty much dead instantly, let's be real. Okay, Cori Steelcutter can't have a second card. Yeah, we're dead. Our opponent was doing the deck that wins if your opponent doesn't have any interaction, and I had interaction and they won anyway, so yikes. Like, I punted game 1, can't really be upset about that, but game 2 was just nothing I could have done. I kept an interactive hand, had lots of interaction, and it just wasn't irrelevant. Alright, can't keep a one-lander on the play. Opponent is playing Yorion, which means all these removal spells are probably useless. This hand is quite good. Let's get rid of Treasure Cruise and Hall of the Storm Giants. So I just need to draw a third land before turn 3, and I get to do Cori Steelcutter then. Alright, Treasure Cruise shows up again. Awkward. Alright, Sylvan Caryatid. Also awkward. I need to find an untapped land. I have bricked. I had so many looks at a third land, and it just was nowhere to be found. Now, if they don't immediately kill the Cori Steelcutter, I still might get a trigger off of it this turn. But missing my third land drop is a huge deal. Yep, now they play Overlord and put some nonsense into the bin. Alright, do I max greed or do I just cast my cantrips? I think I max greed. I need a comeback here, which means I need an untapped land. Alright, still no third land. But next turn I can get double Cori Steelcutter activations, and hopefully that'll be enough. Will it beat Elesh Norn? Probably not, but... Alright, where are my lands? There's the third land. Just, like, as late as it could possibly be. It's fine. We get a pair of tokens. And now I don't need a fourth land. Alright, there's a Pheonix in the bin. That's actually huge. And another Pheonix on top. This is actually fantastic. The bad news is I have 0 gas in the future. Alright, Cori Steelcutter number 3. Thank you, very cool. Let's attack my opponent for 6 in the air. So as long as I find a castable spell in 2 draws, I get 3 Cori Steelcutter triggers. And then they're in serious trouble. Like, the Phoenixes are already doing pretty well at being in the air. Leyline Binding can take 1 Pheonix. They're looking at the Cori Steelcutters, not the Phoenixes. Makes me think they have an answer. Oh, right, that doubles all of their ETB triggers. Right. Elesh Norn. Alright, no blocks. Elesh Norn has Vigilance for some reason, on top of all the other war crimes. I have 8 cards in bin. Alright, Cori Steelcutter, first spell for turn. Get rid of a pathway. Island. Treasure Cruise. 4, 5, 6, 7. I would love like a Flood Maw or something. Alright, another Treasure Cruise. Does Sleight of Hand this turn accomplish anything? No, it does not. The monk tokens still wouldn't be big enough. I guess I can attack with everything and just like eat 1 block and push a lot of damage. It's probably worthwhile. Get rid of a tap land, of course. Find yet more lands, yet more cantrips. Alright, we swing in with the team. We kill a Sylvan Caryatid this way. And they get to remove my Phoenixes temporarily. I should be able to get back the Phoenixes relatively easily next turn. I just really need a Flood Maw so that I can get those Cori Steelcutters back and make next turn really good. Alright, they play another Verge. They've got to be low on interaction. Okay, a lifelinking creature. lifelinking creature that can reanimate stuff in the future. Alright, so the Phoenixes are coming back, but the extra Cori Steel Cutters aren't going to trigger. Alright, we get another Phoenix. They're actually dead in the air. Alright. Yeah, you can move the cutter around. That's fine. There's another one. Not going to cast it this turn. Just going to cast a third instant or sorcery spell. And another Phoenix. Alright, well, in that case, may as well Treasure Cruise. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't exile any Phoenixes. And they're fully tapped out, which means that this just straight up kills them. Alright. No point casting more spells. I'm not attacking with monk tokens. That would just give them lifelink. Alright. The attacks connect, and we win a game. That time we won solely because of Arclight Phoenixes. Alright, so opponent is doing all sorts of enchantments, all sorts of ETB stuff. Sort of a reanimation sub-theme. Is Ether Gust good? Ether Gust is not amazing. A Null is great. Let's see here. Mystic Dispute, not good. Brazen Borrower, maybe good. Is Pithing Needle good? None of these have activated abilities. Let's cut Spell Pierce. Let's cut Fiery Impulse. Do I want Negate? Negate can deal with like Leyline Bindings and Nowhere to Runs. Doesn't work against their giant creatures. Let's try it. I don't think these like small-ish removal spells are going to beat them when they're playing 4/7s and 6/6s. So may as well bring in an Ether Gust just to see if maybe it happens to be... It might be good. You never know. They have some red cards in there that Ether Gust might hit. Mostly black-white, though. Alright. This hand could be anything. But it definitely is going to be pretty good at setting up Treasure Cruise. Consider Off the Top is marginally better at setting up Treasure Cruise. Alright, they get Overlord on 2. And they find a Glass Pool Mimic. Concerning. We don't need a negate. We need to fill up our graveyard more. Alright, now I'll take a negate. I just bottomed one, so they might not think I have it in hand, but I do. Alright, Overlord of the Hauntwoods, technically a creature spell for negate purposes. Alright, we get a Phoenix in the bin. That's pretty good. Yeah, let's just keep stocking the graveyard. Floodmaw is a good draw. A Null we don't really have time for. And don't need a 5th land drop. Find one anyway. Alright, we get one Phoenix back and start attacking. That's good. Like, every bit of pressure matters. But it's definitely not going to be enough. Especially not when they have Enigmatic Incarnation. Yikes. So now they can turn these fake overlords into real overlords immediately. Or into bigger, scarier things. Dream Trawler. Discard a card, it gains hexproof. Okay. That's a bit of a throwback right there. It's been a while since I've seen a Dream Trawler. It was a blue-white control finisher back in the day. Alright, Treasure Cruise, find me an answer. Nothing really. Artist's Talent. And do I Flood Maw the Dream Trawler just to tempo them? I think I do, right? The discarding a card mode taps it. Alright. Get rid of an additional Artist's Talent. Alright, they just take it back in hand. And they let me make an attack, but they have cut down. Okay. They just add Yorion to hand. Alright, please let me top deck a Cori Steelcutter. It would be real funny. They get another Enigmatic Incarnation trigger, which is going to get them something, probably. Alright. Kroxa and Kunaros. Ah, so they can exile 5 things and get the Overlord back. Okay, they get the Ramp Overlord instead. Makes sense. Alright, I did not instantly top deck the Cori Steelcutter. I do not need all of these Spire Bluff Canals. Alright, so I've cast 1 spell this turn. I've cast 2 spells this turn. I do need to make a land drop at some point. Alright, tap land. 3rd spell for the turn. Discard. Ether Gust could be good, I guess. I think I discard a negate. Alright, we find a Cori Steelcutter, which isn't amazing. They have this that's going to be gaining them infinity life. And they have another cut down for my Pheonix. And I'm taking 12 here. And they're gaining 6. Alright, I'm pretty sure I lose. Like, I can Ether Gust something. Plus 2... Like, I can Cori Steelcutter, Ether Gust, 3rd spell, but... Yeah, none of that is going to amount to much of anything with 2 giant lifelinking creatures on the board. Alright, we gotta go fast. We just need to have an opening hand with a billion Cori Steelcutters and just run them over before they can do anything. Like, these hands full of cantrips don't do it. No. No, that won't win. This could win if I draw good cards. I'm going to hold up negate on 2. Alright. Please just don't do anything crazy for the next couple of turns. Play a tap land, since I didn't draw a 1-drop to go with the Cori Steelcutter. Please don't do anything crazy. Up the Beanstalk. I think I let Up the Beanstalk go. Like, obviously they're going to outvalue me. I just have to accept that that's the case. And kill them as quickly as possible, which means using this Picklock Prankster to find a 1-mana spell to go with my Cori Steelcutter. Alright, Flood Maw's pretty good. Take that. First spell for the turn. Second spell for the turn. Send your Beanstalk back to hand. Slow you down a little bit. Alright, they have Leyline Binding, because of course they do. And they take the Monk token, not the Steel Cutter itself. Which I guess makes sense if they're planning on flickering it, or if they just have a Lauren. Alright, I think we lose this game. We were not able to do anything fast. I'll take a Treasure Cruise to see if I have outs, but this is going to take my entire turn, so I don't expect to. What fun. I do love playing against greedy giant reanimation decks that also just can never be killed in the early game. Alright, let's play another match. Alright, we have a one-lander. One-lander on the play with 0 cantrips is an easy mulligan. This one is quite good. We will get rid of Arclight Pheonix, probably. Like, Cori Steel Cutter is just better than Arclight Pheonix most of the time. Alright, Breeding Pool tapped. I will play Esteem Vents tapped and pass. Alright. More up the beanstalk nonsense. Alright, so we're not going to cast the Consider because we need something to cast immediately after the Cori Steel Cutter. We find an opt, so we would have been fine, but regardless. Fourth land or Treasure Cruise Food. I think Treasure Cruise Food. We find the fourth land anyway. We have one spell for next turn. We need to find another. Alright, they march the Cori Steel Cutter. Brutal. Let's opt. Don't need another land. Play that. And attack for 2. This is going to be another one of those games where our opponent just does a bigger thing than us. Like, they answered our Cori Steel Cutter. We have no real pressure. If you count a 1/1 Prowess token as real pressure, then I don't know. But now they get to just cast giant greedy nonsense the rest of the game. Well, I'm going to Treasure Cruise, spend my entire turn on it. Please don't Spell Pierce me. Alright, they don't Spell Pierce me, but it is possibly worse. There goes my Monk token. And I don't even draw another land. Second up the Beanstalk. So now their Leyline Binding is card advantage. Alright. Let's Sleight of Hand. Can't even cast all these Treasure Cruises. Let's Sleight of Hand again. I'll grab a Pheonix. At some point in the future, maybe I will be able to use it. They get to cycle a Triome, which is, I guess, better than them doing anything else with that 3 mana, but it's still very bad for me. Now they have a flying blocker and infinite cards. Yeah, This game... I guess I can Fiery Impulse the Overlord, or... Okay, I can Lightning Axe the Overlord to put a card in the bin, which would be the Pheonix. And then I can consider, try to find a third spell from there. Get my Pheonix back. Alright. Kill the Overlord of the Flood Pits, put a Pheonix in the graveyard. Step 1. Alright. Overlord is dead. Step 2. Consider into a castable spell. Like another Consider, that's great. Cast the other castable spell. Don't need another Treasure Cruise. My graveyard is going to be stressed as it is. And speaking of the graveyard, may as well do this now before any funny business happens. I have Spell Pierce available, so they shouldn't be able to interact with this super well. For that reason, I'm not going to cast Artist Talent here. Alright. Well, they have the Leyline Binding. We Spell Pierce it, they still draw 2. Which I assume will probably be more exile removal for next turn. Yep, unsurprising. I could have Fiery Impulsed it. I should have done that. That's a huge mistake. Their Overlord becomes a creature. Alright. Let's free the Fae. Start binning these Phoenixes. Alright. Let's opt in response to get another Artist Talent trigger. Discard a Pheonix, draw a Cori Steelcutter. Nice. Don't need another one of those. Rest in peace, Artist Talent. Discard a Pheonix, draw another Cori Steelcutter. Grab a Fiery Impulse. And I think we low-key just double Fiery Impulse this Overlord, kill it, and then attack with our Phoenixes. Alright, they have a way of defending it, but that means they aren't flickering their Leyline Binding to steal a Pheonix. So we at least get something out of that. Please don't have another Leyline Binding. They have another Leyline Binding. Alright, this game is technically not over. They are at 10. We have double Cori Steelcutter and a Pheonix in play. Alright, they found a Flying Blocker. And they sure are good at drawing a bunch of cards. Oh, Zur. Yeah, okay. I'm never beating Zur Eternal Schemer. The card is actually just unstoppable. It gives their 6/5 lifelink, and I die. Alright, let's bring in a Null. Let's bring in Negate and Pithing Needle, I guess. I can Pithing Needle Zur. Doesn't seem amazing, but it's fine. And then we can get rid of these Fiery Impulses, Torch the Tower, and one of the Lightning Axes. Not really in need of tiny creature removal. They have either giant creatures or no creatures. Alright, Zero Lander. This has a lot of cantrips, but we never win the long game in this matchup. So I need to mulligan this. This is a one-lander. This is as good as you're going to get for a 3-card hand. I think we need to keep Artist Talent Treasure Cruise, because Treasure Cruise is the only way we ever come back from mulliganing to 4. Alright, Picklock Prankster works well with the Treasure Cruise. Play the Artist Talent first. It gets Leyline Binding immediately, of course. Alright, we pass. Alright, up the Beanstalk. Which means we're never going to recover the value. Put a Pheonix in the bin, which is not nothing. Right, can we cast 3 spells this turn? Possibly. Not Pithing Needle. Not that. Alright, we get a Pheonix in play. Barely. And we get a Cori Steelcutter to hand. That turn went about as well as it possibly could have for us. Yep, Banishing Verse, as always. Alright, so I have 6 cards in the bin. So I can't Cori Steelcutter plus immediately trigger it. But if I wait just a turn, I will. Alright, I'm going to play Picklock Prankster and pass. I don't love this, because now they're on 5 mana, so they can start playing giant creatures. Yep, so there's the Zur, which means we lose. Because their Leyline Binding becomes like a 7/7 lifelinking creature, and we never beat that. So just more fun games where we hope our opponent doesn't draw the card their deck is named after, and then they do, and then we lose. God, if I'd been able to keep that Pithing Needle, then maybe we could have made something happen, but even then it would have been a bit rough. Alright, find another opponent. The classic Zero-lander. This hand is perfectly fine. Doesn't do much of anything, but it'll find something to do. Alright, Cori Steelcutter is pretty much optimal draw. I have a bunch of cantrips, so I'm going to use one immediately. Fine to consider. Not half bad. Just slam High Noon onto pre-board. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, well, Well, this is the life I live now. Now we have to beat a Biza, which draws them a card and nothing else. Well, I'm going to fire off this Opt. This is my only chance to do it. Alright, Otawara temporarily deals with the High Noon. I'm going to kill the Biza, discard the Sleight of Hand, and pass. Opponent can't cast spells during your turn. Alright, this opponent might be like the most evil person to ever exist. I'll kill the Voice of Victory. So I need to cast 2 spells in a turn after I use Odawara or whatever else, just in order to get a creature. Alright, we pass again. Red-white control. Good old red-white control. What fun. Discard a Torch the Tower. Another Voice of Victory. Thank you, opponent. Very cool. I didn't want to cast spells on your turn anyway, actually. Alright, we draw another Fiery Impulse. I'm going to kill the stupid voice. And continue passing. Okay. They marched the Cori Steelcutter, which has no text. Just to show that they can. Alright, I think I have to kill the Reflection. Because if they untap with that, then it causes all sorts of problems. Play another land and pass. I'm having fun. This is a fun game of Magic the Gathering. Like, I don't even know what my outs are. Like, I guess top deck Pheonix. What is this? Angel of Invention. Other creatures get +1/+1. Alright. At this point, I officially have no outs. Like, even if I top deck a Pheonix and hard cast it, I'm not getting past that board. Let's bring in Anger and Brotherhood's End. I guess Pithing Needle on Wandering Emperor makes sense. The Annuls and Negates are necessary, as are the Brazen Borrowers. Alright, what do I cut to make all this happen? I need 10 cuts. Lightning Axe seemed kind of bad. Torch the Tower seemed not terrible. They do have a lot of creatures, but they're all tokens pretty much. The Angel of Invention is the only real one. So I think I just cut single target removal and 2 sleight of hand. So they're probably going to have that one creature which makes me not able to cast spells on their turn, but that's mostly fine. Alright, this hand is pretty good. We have a null up for basically the entire game. Just going to play a tap land. Do I annul the Rest in Peace? No. I think I'm going to rely on Cori Steelcutter this game, which means Rest in Peace doesn't do anything. Yeah, and I just need to have annul up every single turn for the entire game forever. Voice of Victory is fine. I'll put a Cori Steelcutter into play. And I just realized that I can't annul with their stupid Voice of Victory. So I guess that means I Brazen Borrower it to get my Flurry this turn. And we attack in. Now that I'm tapped out, they can go High Noon plus Voice of Victory. And then there will be nothing I can do. Alright, they just tap out to march the Steelcutter. I will simply play another one. And shock that in and play Artist's Talent. That's my second spell for the turn. I get more triggers. Alright. I have a board. Opponent concedes. It's a miracle. Alright, I need the Fire Impulses in to deal with the Voice of Victory. Which means I think Pithing Needle isn't as good. And I probably can't afford to... Like, the Phoenixes are just so hard. I think I'll cut 3 of the Phoenixes. I'll leave 1 in because I don't need the slots, but... Like, I actually think if Cori Steelcutter isn't enough to win, Pheonix definitely won't be. Alright, we have Cori Steelcutter. We have our lands. And a sleight of hand for a red source. Taking a null. Not a red source, but decent. Rest in peace, as expected. Land go. Alright. Voice of Victory. I'm going to pick Lock Prankster. So this does still draw me my Fiery Impulse, which can deal with the Voice of Victory eventually. I don't currently have a red source or another land. That is going to continue. Alright, well, I've cast like 3 cantrips and not found a red source, which means that I die. Alright. Alright, red source acquired. I don't even have another red card to go with this, but I can just put the Cori Steelcutter in play and have a null available. Nope, they just happen to have Sunder the Gateway. Non-token artifact or enchantment an opponent controls, and also incubate. Alright, it always feels bad to lose the game where your opponent has just built their entire deck around not losing to you specifically, but like, this isn't a real matchup. Opponent's entire deck is just a pile of sideboard cards for Izzet Pheonix. Like, this isn't... This basically just doesn't matter. Like, we lose this matchup 100% of the time because they decided they want to win this matchup 100% of the time. Like, it is what it is. Alright. Yep, I would encourage anyone watching to just block that matchup from your mind. It doesn't exist. It never happened. Alright, hopefully we find an opponent who actually wants to play Magic the Gathering with their opponents instead of just, like, cheese them completely. Alright, opponent is choosing to go first. They're being very slow about it, which is always a good sign. Alright. Opponent has showed up. And we have a lot of interaction, but nothing that we're doing ourselves. Hello, LE2XX. I am currently playing as a Pheonix. My opponent is determined to be as slow as physically possible. Alright. Oh, here we are. I'm going to mulligan this one as soon as I'm given the option. Like, a single sleight of hand is not enough to get my own game plan running. So despite the fact that it has lands and spells, I have to mulligan. Alright, 0 lander. 1 lander. Alright, we keep 4. Bottom Treasure Cruise. Fire Impulse. Picklock Prankster. I think we need the Picklock Prankster and not the Torch the Tower. Like, we lose this game to mulligans pretty much. Alright. I really wish it had given me the option to concede before they cast the Duress. Was not quite quick enough. But we know approximately what we're up against. We need, let's see here. Negates aren't amazing. A null is good. This is going to be some sort of unholy annex shenanigans. Let's just bring in 3 annul, cut 3 sleight of hand, call it a day. How am I doing? I'm doing pretty well. I've not had the most fun. I've not had the best opponents recently. You know, lots of people just trying to cheese and not play interactive games. But other than that, it's been pretty good. Alright. Yeah, I have a keepable hand. This one has 2 cantrips. Should be good enough. Way to illustrate your funny interactions with viewers during Magic game? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I mean, probably, but it's hard to think of one off the top of my head. And opponent gets to mulligan. Alright, opponent is in Mulligan City now. Alright. Land, sleight of hand. Give me another Spire Bluff Canal for good mana. Opponent has Swamp Thoughtseize. Find a whole lot of nothing in my hand. Take the annul. Get another consider. Alright, they're waste not. That makes sense. Why they took the annul. Artist talent is great. I'll play a tap land here. And the next turn we get to start casting cantrips and seeing if we can find anything to do. Bandit's talent. Get rid of this Torch the Tower. Let them draw a card. Right, Waste Not is going to completely obliterate me here. But it has to. That looks dope. Thank you. Appreciate it. Alright, we have 7 cards in the bin. Let's refuel. And I'll give you some mana, which you can't probably use. Expect I'll probably just activate Field of Ruin here. I'll float mana with my Steam Vents, grab a land. How do you feel about the current state of the Magic metagame? I mean, it's definitely a mixed bag. Like, there's all sorts of nonsense going on. It's not like the worst metagame ever. But I definitely wish there was more mid-range and less just like overwhelming, giant, powerful stuff going on. I think I don't discard the Fiery Impulse just to deny them a card draw. Alright, there's a Shieldred. Alright, so let's waste not. Get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Decline that trigger, I guess. So now we can double Fiery Impulse the Shieldred to kill it. And now we draw a card for turn. Alright. Free the Fae, find me a Pheonix. Alright, I have managed to put another Cori Steelcutter into the bin. That's 3 Cori Steelcutters and 0 Phoenixes. I really, really wish it were the other way around. What other games do you play? I also play Satisfactory. So I play Magic the Gathering on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. I play Satisfactory Monday, Wednesday, Friday, same time. Alright, let's play a land. Let's play a Treasure Cruise. Just keep trying to find something proactive to do. Now the good news is my opponent is absolutely not going to run me out of cards. So they get a zombie there, which is fine, of course. They can have zombies. Alright, let's discard a land. So they get 1 billion mana, but probably can't use it. I get another Phoenix into the bin. That's incredible. I'm just going to slam the Cori Steelcutter before they get to untap and Thoughtseize me. Alright, Phoenixes are in play and attacking. Yeah, right. Oh, that was to be expected. Alright, so we have a decent clock on them. They don't have a great clock on us, but they have 2 Waste Nots in play, which can get miraculous things to happen. There's a Go for the Throat, which is sort of irrelevant. Now I'm going to have to cast all these spells that I was going to cast anyway. Alright, discard 2 cards. I guess that makes the Go for the Throat make sense. Don't need the Artist's Talent or the land. Alright, opponent has a lot of mana and a lot of cards. Please don't play a Shieldred here. Right, go blank again. Well, I will discard 2 more cards and let you draw even more. Okay. Just duress me. I know it's coming. Alright, untap land. A 3rd waste not. Okay, that's fine. So we definitely have our spells for the turn. Really don't want to give them any useful triggers. So that's 1 spell. Probably shouldn't have played the land, honestly. Probably should have just left it. Also should have cast my spells in a different order. I could have gotten an additional prowess trigger. Alright. Well, I'm going to block some creatures with Picklock Pranksters, since that's what Picklock Pranksters do. And Ritual of Soot leaves my Pheonix, but clears out everything else. And then a Fatal Push clears out the Pheonix. Alright, give me some spells. That's not a spell. I mean, okay, technically it's a spell, but like, it doesn't count. I guess I'll equip the Cori Steel Cutter. Gotta get that additional point of damage in. And I'll continue leaving this Odoir in hand. Maybe they duress me or something and whiff. Although maybe going empty-handed so they can't, like... Alright, 4th copy of Waste Not. And another Bandit's Talent. Alright, opponent now has infinite mana. So I should have played the Odawara. Was hoping they would not have generic discard. Shieldred, Liliana. Okay. So Liliana kills the Pheonix.
And you think you can win?
And Shieldred probably keeps me from getting it back. Are they activating Castle Lochthwain? Are you insane? You're at 3. Surely it's just uptick the 2nd Bandit's Towel and put me to 4. Alright, my opponent is a lunatic. Oh, but Shieldred, right. So Shieldred makes none of that matter. So I go to 4. I'm going to cast Opt. Does this work? I go to 2. I play the Pheonix. I make a guide, sure. Then I equip the Cutter to the Pheonix. And attack you for 4. We win these. All right. That was a game and a half. So opponent is not Unholy Annex. They are Waste Not. To bring in Pithing Needle on Bandit's Talent. Cut Artist's Talent. Bring in Negates. I don't know. Probably 1 Artist's Talent is fine. No, I think we cut Artist's Talent, bring in Negates and a Brazen Borrower. Like, Brazen Borrower can slow them down a fair amount. With bouncing a thing, it's also a creature that isn't in my hand. Alright, this hand does fat load of nothing. This hand, I guess, does some stuff. Alright, they have turn 1 Duress. Pithing Needle or Opt, probably. Alright, there goes my Pithing Needle. Fire Bluff Canal, and go. Alright, they have a Waste Knot, because of course they do. I'll get rid of a land, and probably not draw my 3rd land. Alright, nope, I did draw the 3rd land. And we pass. I have a negate, so if they just jam out another Waste Knot, I can get them. Alright, very, very happy to negate a Go Blank. Huge win. Play a land, have a Null and Picklock Prankster available. This time I can do both if need be. Alright, Go Blank gets rid of Fiery Impulse and Consider, and draws them 2 cards off a Waste Knot. Alright, Duress takes the Annul. Can't hit the Picklock Prankster because it is not an instant or sorcery, or non-creature, non-land. But at this point, opponent has probably won. They sort of just have everything. I'm going to run out of Picklock Prankster. This taps me out of Negate, but I don't think I can afford to sit here holding up a Negate. Like, what does that even accomplish? Alright, let's get rid of the Pheonix. Pheonix can come back. It just gives them a zombie. Alright, second Waste Knot. Cori Steelcutter is fantastic. Doesn't get me the Pheonix back, but does all sorts of work on its own. Alright, land is better than pretty much any spell. Just want to play that. Alright, they trade their zombie for my monk. Now they can Hive of the Eye Tyrant, which gets rid of my Pheonix out of the graveyard. And they Thoughtseize my Negate, which does deal them 2 points of damage, which is not nothing. It also draws them 2 cards. Alright, we hardcast Phoenixes and attack. They discarded a Ritual of Soot earlier, so hopefully that's not because they have another. Shieldred. Worrying. And Power Word Kill. Alright, I guess. Alright. We buff up the Picklock Prankster and go to attacks. Now they have Shieldred plus, like, Gyreach Sanitarium. Which seems pretty bad for me. Alright, well, I'm gonna Fiery Impulse the Shieldred so that I don't have to discard it to Bandit's Talent. This does mean if they attack, they'll know ahead of time that it would be a trade. Yep. Unsurprisingly, they just attack with the Hive, take out my other Pheonix. And I draw a land. Cool. I'm just going to concede here. There's no way I draw well enough to win this. Alright. Yep, we mulligan to Oblivion game 1. basically mulligan to Oblivion game 3 as well. See, this is the problem. This is why I don't like these kinds of decks, is that it isn't enough to have lands and spells. You have to have lands and specific spells. Otherwise it just doesn't work. Like it doesn't feel like... It feels like you have to mulligan way too much with this. Alright. We have Cori Steelcutter and 2 lands. We keep. They have Elvish Mystic on 1. How bad could it possibly be? Surely they're not going to play like an Archon of Emeria or something. Sunken Citadel Land War Elves. Alright, opponent has all the mana in the world. Tap Elvish Mystic to cast Elvish Mystic. Understood. Well, I'm just gonna land, go, and Picklock Prankster end of turn. If I have to emergency Lightning Axe something, I'll be very sad. But they just seem to be playing out Mana Dorks. Alright, now what do they do with all this mana they have? Nykthos. Invasion of Ixalan. Which gets them a card. Gets them Cavalier of Thorns, which beats the Pheonix half of my deck and is very good against the Cori Steelcutter half of my deck. Alright, well, now we have to find a way of killing a Cavalier of Thorns. Alright, free the Fae. Let's try to find something. I guess Fiery Impulse technically does something. I'm going to go with Cori Steelcutter into Sleight of Hand this turn. Grab a Steam Vents. Need to hit my mana. I have a 2/2, but they have a trillion mana. So now, alright, now they have Lair of the Hydra, which is also very scary when they have as much mana as they do. So that flips over into a 4/3 trample and sometimes indestructible. That's fine. I will eat the Llanowar Elves. Alright. Belligerent Regisaur. Alright. Arclight Pheonix is great. So I Lightning Axe the Cavalier, discard the Pheonix. Then I will Sleight of Hand in case I hit Torch the Tower, which would be much better. Yeah, sure. We can swap those around. It doesn't really matter. Don't hit Torch the Tower. We do have Fiery Impulse to finish off the Cavalier. No reach for you, opponent. Now, this does mean you get back another Cavalier next turn, I guess. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And I think we shock in and consider here. So now one of my monks can't be blocked by the Regisaur. My throat's getting a bit sore. The other one can trade with the Regisaur or get blown out if they have a spell, but hopefully they just don't have a spell. Alright, look, trample. Alright, we dealt a lot of damage to them. And we can more or less go again next turn with Treasure Cruise, Picklock Pranksters. and more stuff. But they get to Cavalier of Thorns again. I don't know, maybe I just block the Regisaur and leave them with the Cavalier. Or kill the Regisaur and leave them with the Cavalier, is what I meant to say. They tap all of their Elvish Mystics to get the Cavalier. They don't use Nykthos for that. Now they don't have ground chump blockers for my monks, which could be a problem for them. Alright, lead on a treasure cruise. See what our options are. I would love to hit another lightning axe just to put this Pheonix in the bin. Alright, another Pheonix. And another treasure cruise. Picklock Prankster here. I have a lot of Phoenixes in my hand, not so much in the bin. I guess I'll take Torch the Tower, play a land, and do I just draw more cards here, or do I like blow up an Elvish Mystic? Okay, actually, I attack here, and I can bargain the Torch the Tower with a monk to kill the Cavalier permanently. No, I don't even need to, because the one they blocked has prowess. So that's great for me. So the Cavalier gets exiled, trades with the monk, they take 6, and they don't get the Cavalier of Thorns trigger. Seems pretty good. Alright, I could Treasure Cruise here. I'm specifically not going to because I want to Treasure Cruise next turn for prowess reasons. Alright, they rip a Storm the Festival. I don't think they used the Nykthos, at least not correctly. They could have with the Sunken Citadel. I'm not sure if Auto Tapper did that for them or not. Doesn't really matter since it's the only card in hand. They get another freaking Cavalier of Thorns. But only one? Alright, and they get a Nykthos, and they have the mana to use it. So they storm the festival again. Hopefully they just don't hit another Cavalier of Thorns. Oh, okay, they hit Ulvenwald Oddity. But they don't have the mana to activate that one. Doesn't have reach, right? None of these guys have sneaky reach. Alright, I even draw Otawara, which makes this even easier. So, yeah, I guess we just... You can go back to hand. And I attack for 3 in the air and win. Alright. That's a game 1 win. So we want to bring in Anger of the Gods and Brotherhood's End. And what else? Ether Gust is pretty good against their green deck, I guess. Like the Fiery Impulses don't seem incredible. Like none of these cards are great, so I guess we leave in Lightning Axe and Torch the Tower, but we'll see if we can do the same thing again. Alright, we have Artist's Talent and Arclight Phoenix and cantrips. This is fine. There's no Cori Steelcutter, but the hand's still fine. Totally keepable. Alright, we lead on a tap land, play Spire Bluff Canals for 2 consecutive turns, and have basically perfect mana. Invasion of Ixalan finds them. What does Invasion of Ixalan find them? They're thinking about it. Right, they really are thinking. We find an Ulvenwald oddity. Alright, Cori Steelcutter is a fantastic draw. We play Artist Talent on 2, and then Cori Steelcutter plus Consider on 3, and start the beatdown immediately. No Llanowar Elves or Elvish Mystics this start means they're going much, much slower. Outcast a Trailblazer. Adds a mana, which could cast a Llanowar Elves. It does. Alright, Cori Steelcutter. Discard a Pheonix, because why not? Consider. Attach the Cori Steelcutter. Discard a backup Artist Talent. And definitely keep second Cutter. And we'll chip in for 2. They're not willing to block. So now they can do some stuff with Ulvenwald Oddity. And attack me for 8 this turn. It's not a small amount. Alright, they go for the Invasion of Ixalan instead, prioritizing the long game. Alright, give me an Anger the Gods. Storm-Carved Coast, not Anger the Gods, but it's fine-ish draw. And let's consider. Get our Cori Steelcutter triggers. Discard another backup Artist's Talent. Put a Pheonix in the bin. That's exciting. And let's opt here. Don't want a Treasure Cruise because that would lose us some Phoenixes. Discard a land that we don't really need. Grab a Pheonix. That will be good next turn. Alright, we are objectively just racing. If they can't kill us on their next turn, we almost certainly kill them on the backswing. They trade the Regisaur, which substantially decreases their chance of killing us this turn. Not to 0, because this guy, if they generate a huge amount of mana, which they very well might, this guy gives all their stuff Trample and Haste. But if that doesn't happen, we have 2 Phoenixes in the bin, and multiple spells to cast. And a 3rd Phoenix to put in the bin. Alright. Deafening Silence. That's brutal. Alright. One time, give me a bounce spell. One time. Okay, and they also have a Cavalier of Thorns, just for good measure. Alright, top of the deck, please be a bounce spell. If I can get rid of this Deafening Silence, I'm in great shape. But I have 1 draw exactly. Ether Gust doesn't quite do it. Oh, that's frustrating. Why do they have Deafening Silence? Like, for what reason? Alright. Now I definitely just die, right? Like, they have the mana to flip the Ulvenwald Oddity. Like, I guess I can bounce the Cavalier of Thorns, but I'm not getting anywhere here. Super frustrating. Deafening Silence. Somewhat to be expected. We just need to have the answer next time. Alright. Play first. Hand is awful. This hand is probably not good enough, but I do not think a 5-card hand is better. So I guess we keep this hand and they play Deafening Silence and we lose. Or they play like basically any spell and we lose. Alright, Artist's Talent makes this a lot better. Basic Forest, Elvish Mystic. Okay. Play Artist Talent on 2 and set up for the future. Right, they have another Llanowar Elves. And another Llanowar Elves. Oh, if only I had a second red source. I'm going to go opting for that. Don't want to miss land drops. Said I don't want to miss land drops. Alright, we find it. Yeah, and I have to play this on red. And pass, and hope whatever they do with their 5 or 6 mana is not disgusting. Alright, Cavalier of Thorns. If I draw exactly another red source, untapped red source to be specific, then this is fine. Alright, Ether Gust isn't the worst draw in the world. I'll get rid of all of your mana real quick. Get rid of this Picklock Prankster. It's too expensive to use. Alright, 3 Llanowar Elves down. Now they just have Sunken Citadel with an inevitable Nykthos coming any second now. Invasion of Ixalan. Actually, this Cavalier of Thorns, did that brick? Alright, no, there's the Nykthos, which isn't hugely positive right now. It technically is a little bit with the Sunken Citadel. They can make 3 mana this turn. Or 4, apparently. Which is enough for them to do all sorts of gross things with Cavalier plus Ulvenwald Oddity, giving them another creature. This game just isn't worth playing. Like, they have all of their creatures in play. I have nothing going on there at 20. The matchup is pretty much just, if the Izzet Pheonix is ever, like, even 2% less aggressive than their maximum possible, you instantly lose. Like 0% win rate if you're not, like, exactly Cori Steelcutter into cantrip, into put Pheonix into play, into Cori Steelcutter, into, like, if you don't do exactly that, the matchup is unwinnable. Alright, we have a 1-lander. We have 3 cantrips. And an Artist Talent to make it worth keeping. Alright, it's Scavenger's Talent shenanigans again. I'm going to shock in and Sleight of Hand. And grab a second land. Mana should be fine now. Alright, this is Cat Oven. And we find the Cori Steelcutter. So that's good news. Alright. Give me a third land. Give me an untapped blue source. Alright, we find the untapped blue source. And we sleight of hand. I would love to sleight of hand into another untapped, another mana source, preferably. I go to the Lightning Axe. This deck doesn't really use big creatures. Alright, tap land. Good enough. We'll take a Pheonix. And I think I'll offer the trade. They don't take it. Alright, we have 2 Phoenixes coming back next turn, basically guaranteed, unless they have Graveyard Hate. Alright, they fire up the Scavenger's Talent and play a Blood Tithe Harvester. Alright, I'm going to cast Considers. They're better than Sleight of Hands because I might lock a Pheonix into the bin. Alright, 1 spell a turn. Cori Steelcutter, pretty good. Take a Treasure Cruise. 2 spells for the turn. Cori Steelcutter triggers. And we will move the cutter to the new one to give it haste. And I think we bottom Sleight of Hand here. Alright, so we could just keep casting a billion spells this turn. I think that's probably correct. Just because of the monk tokens with prowess. And we're going to Fiery Impulse the Blood Tithe Harvester as our last spell. How stocked is our graveyard? It's pretty stocked. I think we can manage 2 Treasure Cruises over the rest of this game. So obviously they're just going to make a food, but this removes the blocker. And they're going to mill some cards. Here goes a Mayhem Daredevil. Don't need a Spire Bluff Canal. Find one anyways. Alright, and opponent takes a really hilariously large amount of damage. Like they're literally at 3. The turn 4s with Cori Steelcutter are just so much more impressive than like you could ever have with the deck previously. I feel like opponent just can't win from here. Alright, claim the Firstborn to get rid of one of the monk tokens. Pretty embarrassing. Like, that's not going to save them from death. I have 2 Arclight Phoenixes in the air. They have food tokens, but the food tokens are not going to do enough. And I haven't seen a single cat. Alright, so they can sack some permanents, get a Mayhem Devil back. I don't even know what that does. Like, then they can sack more permanents to kill one of my Phoenixes temporarily. Right, Mayhem Devil returns. And they get to mill themselves a bunch. But pretty sure they can't do 12 here. They don't have 12 permanents to sack. They have cats. Which... yeah, okay. Alright, let's play a Cori Steelcutter. And get some triggers. Put another Spire Bluff Canal in the bin. Now let's draw a bunch of cards. And pay a blue mana. And this gives us our 2 Cori Steelcutter tokens, which is completely crazy, by the way. And discard Spell Pierce, I guess. Draw another Treasure Cruise. Why not? And let's Sleight of Hand, just so that all of these monks are lethal, which means they have 5 creatures to deal with. And if they manage it, then they still don't really have much of a board. I'll take a land. Pretty sure I haven't played one this turn. It's a tap land, but it should be good enough. Alright. 5 lethal attackers. 2 blockers. 2 food. So they can sack 2 treasures to sack a food to gain 3 life and kill 1 thing. Doesn't seem very good. Alright, I guess the cat oven means they can kill both of the phoenixes. Now if they sack both treasures, they go to 7 and still probably just die. Haven't done the math. But like, if they don't die, they're chump blocking with their entire board, which doesn't seem profitable for them. Okay, they brought both cats back, which I guess means they have blockers, but the Cori Steel Cutters give trample. Alright. Well, they've definitely milled themselves a bunch, and they do live this turn. But the situation's looking pretty dire for them past that. Like, I guess they can keep the Mayhem Devil. But like, these Phoenixes come back, so they need to kill me on their turn from almost no resources. So hang on, is the stupid Igra in there? Alright, the Igra is in there, which, because this deck is very fair and balanced, I think means they just auto-win. Like, they have their stupid combo. Alright, they claim the Firstborn to get my Monk token. I imagine they will sack it. Alright, they make a copy of it for some reason. Sack the Fable. And now they're milling me. And they attack for 6. And do they know about the combo their deck is built around? If they bring the Igra back and start the loop, I'll concede. Alright, they have a food, they have the Igra. So now they can sack a Cauldron Familiar to get a Cauldron Familiar back. Very cool. God, I cannot begin to describe how much I absolutely despise good mid-range decks that also randomly have combo finishes. Like, that should not be a thing. Alright, we bring in all this stuff. We cut lightning axes, and the small creature removal is good because the Mayhem Daredevils, or what are they even? Mayhem Devils? Those are powerful. So I think I can't cut a whole bunch of cantrips, right? Let's see here. Maybe Spell Pierce is the worst counter spell. Flood Maw is probably going to be necessary because they're probably going to have Graveyard Hate. So let's cut Picklock Prankster and Sleight of Hand. No, let's keep in 2 sleight of hand and cut 2 fiery impulses. Like, I don't want to cut too many cantrips. That would be very bad. Alright, we have Cori Steelcutter. We have Artist's Talent. We have Brotherhood's End, which... bit of friendly fire here on my Cori Steelcutter, but it'll probably be fine. Alright, tap land on 1. Alright, they have Witch's Oven immediately. I have my Artist's Talent. I would love for them to just play out multiple Witch's Ovens so the Brother's End can get all of them. Doesn't seem likely. Also, I would need to draw another red source for that. So, let's sleight of hand first. Decline. I think all of my cards are quite good. Alright, regretting the decline now. I'll take a second to null. And we pass. Fire off these annuls on basically anything just to get the cantrip. Alright, they just play a stupid cat. And hopefully they do something else with their turn that I can annul. It would be pretty annoying if... Alright, they blood token a cat into the bin. I'll kill the Blood Tithe Harvester. And discard and annul. I really need lands. Alright, I think I play Cori Steelcutter. Discard the Arclight Phoenix. Try to hit a land. Alright, Pithing Needle is not a land, but it's good. Pithing Needle on Witch's Oven is one of the ways of shutting down this shenanigan. Now, just don't have Scavenger's Talent. Second Witch's Oven, Cauldron Familiar. Alright. So immediately Pithing Needle on Witch's Oven. Just no question. You can activate it once. It's going to be on Witch's Oven, not the Cauldron Familiar, obviously. Because Witch's Oven does all sorts of other stuff beyond just looping the cat. Alright. Then they bring their cats back again. And they drain me a little bit. And then they bring their cats back again, and they drain me a little bit. And finally, I get to discard this Brotherhood's End, I guess. Draw a card. It's another Cori Steelcutter. That's fun. Which is Oven. Not a mana ability. Alright, so I could cast the second Cori Steelcutter here, but it wouldn't even trigger, so I'm just going to cast this Opt, so I have a null. And once again, just decline. Take a Pheonix into hand for the future. And let's start chipping away at their 23 life, down to 21. Alright, now I would like you to cast your Scavenger's Talent so that I can annul it. Alright, go blank. Completely brutal. Get rid of the graveyard-focused stuff, since it's clearly not happening this game. Alright, Cori Steelcutter. Cast that. Discard Steam Vents. Find a land. I think I have to stay on defense now that I've failed to trigger the Cori Steelcutters. They have their cats. I'm at 10. That go blank was just the perfect timing. I was about to go off and use my graveyard the literal next turn. Alright, and now they turn their witches' ovens back on. And nothing I have does anything anymore. I draw a land for the turn. They're gonna Cauldron Familiar me out of this game. Cat Oven. Possibly one of like the worst designed play patterns ever conceived of. Just very slow, incredibly difficult to deal with, incredibly annoying to play against, incredibly annoying to play as. It's just like bad in every possible way that a play pattern could be bad. And they decided to give it an infinite combo attached to it too, because that was just necessary. Like, at least if they hadn't printed Igra, it wouldn't be playable, so we wouldn't have to worry about it. Blackcleave Cliffs is in discard magic colors, so I'm just going to play out the Cori Steelcutter. They're not likely to have artifact removal game 1. Alright. Yo dog, I heard you like Sleight of Hand. Let's get a monk token. Instantly gets Fatal Pushed. One Fatal Push out of the way. Second Cori Steelcutter acquired. Tap land, go. Okay, they have a fear of missing out, which is secretly great for me. They discarded Unholy Annex. Are they crazy? Why would you discard your best card? Alright, second Cori Steelcutter. Kill the fear of missing out. Thank you for giving me a target. I would love to get a couple of monk tokens. Another Fatal Push. Why would you keep Fatal Push instead of Unholy Annex? Alright. And we attack. Right. They finally have the Thoughtseize, take the Lightning Axe. Alright, we get very lucky. The ordering doesn't matter on these spells, so I'll opt first in case I find more cantrips to cast instead of the awkward Pheonix. Alright, third Cori Steelcutter. Not going to trigger this turn, but hoo boy. Pretty good. The opponent has another removal spell. Bitter Triumph. Technically a removal spell. And speaking of technically, I guess I will attach another Cori Steelcutter to the monk for an additional point of damage. Alright, we keep drawing cantrips. I'm going to keep casting cantrips. Opponent has had enough. Understandably so. Alright, so they are Rakdos midrange, Rakdos demons, whatever you want to call it. A null is great against their Unholy Annexes and Fables. Let's see. They have, like, Spell Pierces and all... Well, they don't have Spell Pierces. They have Thoughtseizes and Duresses, so card advantage is crucial. Phoenixes are better because of that. They have a lot of creatures. Spell Pierce, probably not great. I would like negates. A lot of their big impactful stuff are creatures. And I think we just cut some cantrips. Alright, so we swarm Rakdos midrange game 1 with a bunch of Cori Steelcutters. The classic 7-lander. Opponent goes first. We have a cantrip and a Cori Steelcutter. I think we keep this. Do we keep Treasure Cruise? Yeah, I think we keep Treasure Cruise over Arclight Pheonix. We don't want to mulligan too far. while we were dealing with duresses. Yep, they take the Cori Steel Cutter. We managed to Thoughtseize Bug it back into our hand. I'm going to play Shock Land. I unfortunately have to consider to hit land drops. Alright, Bloodtithe Harvester means the Fiery Impulse will have a target eventually. Can't keep a null. Alright, land drops successful. I'll just land go. If they have another discard spell, it's brutal. But otherwise, it's kind of hard to double spell if the Cori Steel Cutter isn't one of them. Alright. Go to our turn. Play more red sources. Play the Cori Steel Cutter. Kill your creature, get a creature of my own, which will inevitably get Fatal Pushed instantly. Gotta get through the Fatal Pushes somehow. Having them cast them on random monk tokens really isn't that bad. They discard a Go for the Throat. Alright, Hidetsugu consumes all. Manages to do basically nothing. So I don't have anything in the graveyard immediately. We managed to dodge putting another Pheonix in the graveyard that turn. And since the graveyard is going, time to refuel. Yeah, so their Hidetsugu consumes all. Did, I think, literally nothing. It takes one Treasure Cruise out of the graveyard and gives them a creature in the future. Alright. So now we just need to just keep the pressure up. Consider. Now we start putting Phoenixes in the bin. And they have yet more removal from my monks, but they cannot afford to be doing this in this way. I'm just going to take land drops. So Artist Talent was my first spell, Consider was my second, so I'm not getting a Pheonix back this turn, so I'll tap land to go, and plan on getting a Pheonix back next turn. Alright, they have Vessel of the All-Consuming. Well, Storm-Carved Coast is the best land that I have. If I play Artist Talent, throw a Pheonix in the bin, this still gives me good odds of casting 3 instants and sorceries a turn, and it definitely gets Cori Steel Cutter trigger. I do need to find 1 mana spells. Like Into the Flood Maw, for example. Which is not amazing. I kind of don't want to cast that if I have the option. And I think I won't need to. I think this should fill up the graveyard enough for a Treasure Cruise. Alright, Lightning Axe. That's great. Don't need a 3rd Treasure Cruise. Let's Lightning Axe. Kill the Vessel. Discard the... Lightning Axe is better against Shieldred. Into the Flood Maw is better against some sideboard cards. Keep the Treasure Cruise and Lightning Axe, definitely. Alright, 3 Phoenixes return. Alright, they torch one of them. Don't top deck Anger of the Gods, please. If you top deck Anger of the Gods, I will be somewhat sad. But also Treasure Cruise, so like it's kind of whatever. Alright, first spell. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just fuel them up. Yeah. I've played this matchup from the other side a lot recently, and it seems extraordinarily favored for Izzet Pheonix. It used to be even before Cori Steel Cutter, but like there's just sort of nothing they can do about... Like, they can't beat the graveyard and the Cori Steel Cutters at the same time. Previously, we only had like third path iconoclast type cards, which were like one fatal push and they're done, and then you just beat the graveyard and then it's fine. With Cori Steelcutter, it's much more difficult to permanently remove. Alright, second Cori Steelcutter. Pretty exciting. Seasoned Hollowblade. That stinks of cheese. So I'm going to play one Steelcutter, and next turn I can go second Steelcutter plus Opt. Yeah, they're doing discard. So we can't really kill that. It'll just let them do the thing they want to do anyway. So let's just try to erase them. And Artist's Talent is decent. It's not amazing here, but like gives us selection. It gives us something permanent-ish to do. Yeah, so the opponent was discarding to draw a card anyway. Fire Impulse would have just wasted a card for that. Alright, they have Sheltered by Ghosts, which is going to get rid of one of my Cori Steelcutters. Basically permanently. Alright, second Sheltered by Ghosts. Yikes. Give me a Flood Maw. Actually, this has Ward 2 X2. Alright. They have Ward 2 X2. I don't know how I'm beating that. So that's each opponent loses 3 life. So like I'm kind of close to just being dead anyway. Alright, what if I can't even point removal spells at it because it has Ward 2 a billion. So yeah, I guess we just try to erase them somehow. And like I don't know how that's going to work. But it is sort of the play. I just need to cast a bunch of spells. Treasure Cruise is good. Swinging for 8. This has lifelink. So, like, this whole thing isn't actually going to work, but maybe... Oh, they made a copy of Monument to Endurance. Am I dead? I go to 1... Yeah, I'm dead. Okay. I guess I'll force them to discard the cards so I can see them, but... They... Alright, they've decided, rather than killing me to just draw cards, I guess they can kill me and draw cards. Yep, alright. So... I'm showing Guardian of New Benalia, which is similar effect to this Hollow Blade. Alright, well... That's rough, buddy. Opponent had, like, the perfect Voltron start. So we need our Annuls and Braids and Brotherhood's Ends. Anger of the Gods just doesn't target. So based on what I've seen of their decks, both Seasoned Hollowblade and Guardian of New Benalia, like, targeted removal just does not function against them. So I'm going to cut all of that, I think. Bring in a Brazen Borrower. And their creatures are all white, mostly, so Ether Gust doesn't do much. Yeah, alright. We're gonna try this. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have the insane double Sheltered by Ghosts draw that they did that time. Can't keep a one-lander. This is a lot of cantrips and a lot of nothing. Alright, this at least has Artist's Talents. I'll keep one. I'll keep some cantrips and an Artist's Talent. And try to come back. Marauding Mako. Good old mediocre draft card that is terrifying and constructed. Alright, Enlist is, as it attacks, you can tap a thing to add its power to this one's power. Alright, cool, don't really care about that. Sleight of Hand, decline artist talent trigger, take Anger, not bad, play a land and go. Now, they can... Anger doesn't actually do much here, because they can do Guardian of Nubenalia to discard their hand to save the Mako. They get to scry 2. Do I force them to discard a card? I don't think so. Like, it just grows the Mako. Alright, Monument to Endurance is in play. I'm just going to braid that. Like, their deck is named after that card. I'm going to get rid of it. Anger of the Gods doesn't kill either of their creatures, so I think I have to get rid of it. And they can trigger the Monument to draw a card before it goes. Alright, let's free the Fae. Get rid of Annul. Alright, Cori Steelcutter is a bit late to the party, but probably fine. Pick Annul back up. Just give them something to sweat about on their turn. They enlist again. And I don't know how I'm going to beat this. Like, Cori Steelcutter can, I guess, make chump blocks. None of this stuff has trample, really. Alright. I think I might be on Cori Steelcutter for infinite chump blockers mode. I have no Phoenixes in the bin currently. I can put one there. Alright, Phoenix in the bin. Consider. Cori Steelcutter triggers. Instantly gets destroyed by a Wear Tear. Alright, so my plan of making infinite chump blockers has failed. My plan of drawing a 4th land over the course of this game has failed. I've looked at 20 cards. I've discarded 1 land. Alright, so they get to just keep doing this. I'm going to save myself 4 life while I have the chance. Alright, play a land because I need to. Play an Opt. Get rid of Spell Pierce, which is probably not hitting anything. I can get a Phoenix back with that. And I can Brazen Borrower the Guardian of Nubenalia to deal with it more permanently. I have an Annul. Yeah, so I think I keep this hand. Take a 5th land. Alright, Phoenix is back, and Phoenix is on blocks. They discard a Fiery Temper for Madness to kill the Arclight Phoenix, which would be discarding it to deal damage to my face otherwise, so whatever. Alright, now they have a Fear of Missing Out. I guess I annul that. And I discard the Steam Vents, try to find anything. Nope, just a tap land. So if I don't annul that, they hit me for like 7 this turn, which seems bad. how about I stop drawing bad cards and start drawing good cards? Alright, play Picklock Prankster. Play Red Source. And we pass. So I have Brazen Borrower, so if they do their usual thing of enlisting and attacking with the Guardian, then I'll just bounce it. They have another Fiery Temper. Which, again, could have been pointed at my face. So, ultimately, fine with it. Alright. They're doing this again. I'll let them scry 2 first. And then enlist. And back to hand you go. Please get rid of the Spire Bluff Canal. Find me something usable. I have a Pheonix in my bin. I have a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's brutal. And they shock and play the Guardian. Alright, this is my chance. They have no cards in hand. If I can kill the Guardian now, I can kill it permanently. Just draw a small creature removal spell. Keep Sleight of Hand because it's more likely. Alright, Brotherhood's End. Kills the Guardian and the Goblin Shaman. And if it happens to be the case that this next top deck is a removal spell, it would also kill the Mako. It doesn't happen. Okay. Cast Sleight of Hand. Decline the trigger. Alright, Floodmaw deals with the Mako next turn. Arclight Pheonix to hold the line this turn. Alright, they cycle another Mako to put counters on this one. That's fine by me. That's an annoying creature gone. They cycle Mycosynth Gardens away. Take my chump block. Alright, weird pause there. Don't love that for me. But I'm just going to cast my spells. Alright, now we consider. Get the Cori Steel Cutter trigger. Holy lands, Batman. This is where all the lands are. Alright, can I play a land first? I don't know what this plays around, but like something probably. Alright, we get a win. We get a win against the discard deck. Is Aethergust good to reset Makos? Probably not. Alright, that was a spooky game. Managed to win it. Now we have to win one on the draw, which is going to be much harder. But like, we just sort of have to do the same game plan as that time. We just deplete them of resources. And until eventually we can deal with their stuff. Alright, waiting on your opponent. They get to play first. You have a great hand. Spell Pierce on 1 shuts down a lot of their crazy early stuff. We have an Abrade to beat the Monument. We have Cori Steel Cutter so that we are not just reacting to their stuff. They have to react to us as well. There's a Marauding Mako. And I think we pass. I want to have Spell Pierce available. I want to have a Braid available. Alright, Seasoned Hollowblade. That is fine, but I think I want to kill the Mako in response so that they can't save it later. Alright, now I pass again, have Spell Pierce available, and Picklock Prankster. Alright, just tap out for a monument that I can Spell Pierce. Nope, it's another Mako. Alright, so that officially does start to get a little bit awkward. I already have one Treasure Cruise. I'll take a Sleight of Hand, I guess. Alright, Cori Steelcutter plus Sleight of Hand. Please find me a mana source. Oh, am I greedy? I'm greedy. Take the Cori Steelcutter over the land. It's a foolish decision, but whatever. So the Hollowblade, if it attacks into the monk... Alright, they have Monument. So this is a reasonable chump block, I think, although the Monument makes it worse. At least I'm saving some life. Oh, and they make a Treasure, but don't cast a Fiery Temper? Alright. Lucked out of that one. Portable Hole. Alright. We need to do this now. It's incredibly scary. But we need to blow up their Monument to Endurance and their Portable Hole. Now, I could take 1 billion damage this turn. And I could take 1 billion damage pretty much every turn for the rest of the game. Until I deal with the Mako. This card is so scary. They play a land instead of discarding it, which is positive, I think. They play a Wear Tear instead of discarding it, which is positive. They play a Rest in Peace instead of discarding it. Alright, opponent is empty-handed, which means... yeah, we're good to go here. Anger the Gods, kill your 2 threats. Have Spell Pierce, so if you draw another Monument, we're covered. Alright. Another Cori Steelcutter. Literally any random spell. Attach it up. Tap land this time because I think whatever they draw will be less than 4 mana. So Spell Pierce probably doesn't work against it. Is it another Wear Tear? They cast both sides this time? I didn't even know you could cast both sides. That's neat. Well, I'm going to put an Arclight Pheonix into play and start attacking. The old hardcast Pheonix. They get value out of their fear. Well, let's attack you with our Pheonix. Play a Picklock Prankster. And now they have to do the fun little prowess game of, is this a safe attack? They correctly deduce that it is not. I'll Picklock Prankster, just get something. A Braid works. I'll go to my turn, just for the sake of prowess triggers. So we 3 damage to that. Get our prowess trigger. 3, 4, 5, 6. So Brazen Borrower for 1 prowess doesn't change the clock. So in we go. Channel Sokensan. And concede. Alright. We were able to overcome not the best deck in the world. Like, those whole, oh, discard a card to save it, seem great until you realize, like, A, you have to have a card in hand to discard, and B, it's still a 1-for-1, so, like, it's not value unless you have a monumented play, which simply just remove the monuments. Alright, it's 450. If I get stuck into another protracted, like, 3-game grind fest against something, then we'll go way over, and I can't have that. So we're going to call the stream here. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. It's been fun. I'll be playing Satisfactory tomorrow. We are continuing to work on the interface. So let's... So yeah, make sure to follow if you haven't already. Be back for more Magic the Gathering on Thursday. 2 to 5 Eastern Time. And that is about that.